2 Kings chapter 11. We're just going to get a little bit into just summarize leading up to chapter 11 just for a second before we get started. But 2 Kings chapter 11 and 12 is hopefully what we'll cover tonight, dealing with the reign of Athaliah and Joash. So that's what's coming up. If you might remember that last week we dealt with the king of Israel, northern kingdom, named Jehu. And Jehu's one of these guys that was all gun-ho to do the will of the Lord, get rid of all the Baal worship in Israel, which he did a good job of, kill off all of the household of Ahab. Who wouldn't want to do that? And so he's super excited about doing all those things, but as we noted in the end, he's not super excited about really serving the Lord. So that's the other side of the coin when it comes to Jehu. Very interesting fellow. And as the last thing we took a look at is over in Hosea chapter 1. Gomer's first child was named Jezreel because God was going to revenge the blood of the house of Ahab, of Jezreel, and all, but avenge it on Jehu. And you're going, wait a minute, Jehu did the right thing. But Jehu did the right thing because Jehu wanted to do that, and he didn't want to get rid of calf worship or anything else. So all of that, I think, teaches us some really valuable lessons that we'll look at in just a second. Let's begin with prayer. Father, we're so very thankful to you for your watchful care over us and how you provide for us, and you are with us at all times. Thank you so much for that, and thank you for this great opportunity to learn more about you. Please continue to bless us as you see fit. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, just to summarize this last part, we looked at some lessons from Jehu. First lesson that we just mentioned, mostly obeying the Lord and obeying only the parts that you really want to is not obeying the Lord. And that is the first major thing that you see there. And the second thing is God even uses wicked people, as he used Jehu, to have revenge on the household of Ahab. This is not uncommon with God, and we don't want to think that only God only uses righteous people, faithful people. No, that's not true. He uses Assyria to destroy Israel. He uses Babylon to destroy Judah. God's not above using wicked people and using Satan as well to his own benefit, like in the case of Job that we have just recently studied. This particular story, by the way, this narrative is the longest continuous narrative in the whole of 2 Kings. Of course, in 1 Kings, you'd say Elijah probably had the longest, but in this case, the story of Jehu is the longest. Isn't that interesting? It would seem like if you're thinking about that from God's point of view and from an inspired writer, you would say that God really wants this point to get hammered home, that Jehu did all these things that I wanted him to do, but when it came right down to it, he wasn't doing it out of respect or subjection or submission to me. He was doing that part because that's what he wanted to do, and when it came to actually serving God, he's not going to do it. He's going to keep the calf worship, and he's going to be pretty stubborn about that. So that's I think an interesting point to remember as well. All right, so that brings us then to chapter 11. Jehu has killed 2 kings, right? Can you name them? For $64,000, something like that. Yeah, one of them is Joram or Jehoram, king of which Israel, north. That's right, and the other is Ahaziah, king of Judah. All right, he was going just to kill Jehoram after Jehoram had been wounded in battle, and he was going to kill him. But it just so happened that Ahaziah was the king of the south. Jehoshaphat's son happened to be there as well. And he goes, well, 2 for the price of 1, and he knocks them both off. And then of course, kills all the sons of Ahab as well, and pretty well wipes out the household of Ahab with one major exception. And her name is Athaliah. And she happened to be the daughter of who? Yeah, she's the daughter of Ahab and Jezebel. And so we have that. Can you give me all the information you can about Athaliah? So first off, she's the daughter of Ahab and Jezebel. I think that's the first one I have up here. All right. What else can you tell me about her as far as her connections? She married the king of Judah, and his name was Jehoram. That's right. So she marries Jehoram. All right. Very good. And who was Jehoram and Athaliah's son? Ahaziah. Wow, these names just crazy. So you have that, and as we see, married him. Her son is Ahaziah, king of Judah. That's the one Jehu killed, along with Joram, king of Israel. And then when Joram became king, here's the thing that the book of Kings does not report to us. When Jehoram became king, that's Jehoram of the south of Judah, when he became king after Jehoshaphat, his father died, he killed all his brothers. Nice guy, right? I wonder why you do that. Well, because he's married to Athaliah. Well, then, of course, he gets killed after reigning just a year. And now the situation is Jehoram's sons are all that's left in the Davidic line. So he's killed all his brothers, and now only his sons are left in the Davidic line. And chapter 11, first 3 verses, look what we read. Now when Athaliah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she arose and destroyed all the royal family. But Jehosheba, the daughter of King Joram, the sister of Ahaziah, took Joash, the son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from among the king's sons who were being put to death. And she put him and his nurse in the bedroom, and thus they hid him from Athaliah, so that he was not put to death. And he remained with her 6 years, hidden in the house of the Lord, while Athaliah reigned over the land. Now, you would probably guess that all of these sons of Joram that she kills are probably not hers. They're probably other wives and stuff like that. And so she is lusting after the throne. After her son's dead, she wants to be the queen. And so how do you do that? Well, you get rid of all the lineage. And what she didn't know was she counted incorrectly, and there was one little baby that happened to be still alive, and so Jehosheba, I don't know how to say her name, Jehosheba, the daughter of King Joram and sister of Ahaziah, then took this little baby Joash and hid him away for the next 6 years. And if not for that, the lineage of David is gone. I wonder how that would have happened. Just coincidence? God to the rescue, right? God is going to take care of that. And remember back earlier, even though Judah was sinning and all this, God said as much as they deserved basically to be destroyed, what's God going to do? He's going to leave a lamp in Israel through David, because he made a promise to David that his lineage would sit on the throne. So Athaliah murders all of Jehoram's sons. Joash, son of Ahaziah, is spared by Jehosheba, sister of Ahaziah. And then Athaliah Athaliah, daughter of Ahab, is now reigning in Judah. And what's important about that? Because she's the daughter of Ahab, we have a descendant of Ahab reigning in Judah. Have we gotten disgusting enough? Yeah, that's basically where you get here. Is it just beyond belief how far down it's going? We could bring it all the way back to the mistakes of what king? You got to go back further than that. Well, Jeroboam. Yeah, you're talking about calf worship. But to get a Israelite queen, if you will, on the throne in Judah. Who started that? A good king started that. Who is that? Jehoshaphat. Yeah, Jehoshaphat went ahead and got his boy to intermarry with Ahab's girl. And that started that business. And it started the downfall. This is why these back and forth, the king of Israel, king of Judah, king of Israel, king of Judah, all the way through, what the writer is doing is pointing us to the fact that both of them converge eventually, and they all go down to the pit together. And it's just a matter of complete destruction. Yeah, Wayne.
I love the echoes you had. Moses, and they Pharaoh wanted to kill all the Israelite children. And then they didn't want Christ to be born because the king thought that he was going to be an earthly king. So this is an echo of Moses and another foreshadowing. It's another story.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? You keep seeing these things pop up that way. That's a really good point. Really true. So interesting to see how that goes. So sparing Joash then, as Jehoshaphat does, preserves the Davidic lineage, and God's promise then stands. So we see God. Of course, this has been a thematic thing all the way through. God's still there in spite of how bad the people get. And why would God still be there even though they deserve it? Complete destruction like Sodom and Gomorrah in Isaiah. He calls them in Isaiah 1. He calls them Sodom and Gomorrah. Israel, Sodom, Judah's Gomorrah. He calls them Sodom and Gomorrah. They deserve to be exterminated. And when you get to Romans 9, Paul will make an argument that does not God have the right to show mercy even on vessels of destruction that are made for destruction? And he's talking about them. They think he's probably talking about Gentiles, but he's talking about them. God had mercy on you. You better realize that it is his choice to save you, and his choice is how he's going to save you, and you don't have an argument about it. And he's going to save you through Jesus, not through your law. If he tried to do it through the law, you're dead. That's all there is to it. So it's an interesting thing that sets all this up throughout the text. Okay, so now we come on over to verses 4 down through verse 16. And we're introduced to a man named Jehoiada the priest, and he then is going to come to the rescue in this first part. So verse 4, but in the 7th year Jehoiada sent and brought the captains of the Kerites and of the guards and had them come to him in the house of the Lord, and he made a covenant with them and put them under oath in the house of the Lord, and he showed them the king's son. You can imagine them going, oh, he's got a kid. All right. So who's a 7-year-old in this congregation? You don't have a 7-year-old? Judah's almost 7. All right. Any other 7-year-olds? Pardon? You got Levi's a 7-year-old. Now you imagine Judah or Levi, and you're going, get him the crown, put it on him, set him on the throne. Woo-hoo, we have a king. Do you need a Jehoiada if you're 7 years old and you're going to reign? Boy, do you. Yeah.
There is some symbolism too, right? It's the 7th year.
Yes.
Restoration.
That is true. Restoration comes in the 7th year. And so very, very interesting here. Josiah was the next youngest king that reigned. He started reigning at 8 years old. But still, okay, pick an 8-year-old in our congregation. I'm sure we've got some of those too. And you go, wow, make an 8-year-old king. Something else. Fortunately, Josiah, of course, one of the greatest kings that they ever had. Jehoiada, not quite, but you'll see some things that are listed here. Now, this little section that goes down here through verse 16 is just all about the overthrow of Athaliah. So here, what he does is he says to these guards and king and various ones who are guarding the temple, he just simply says, look, get ready because you guard the king, surround him, don't let anything happen, because what's going to happen is Athaliah is going to come out and we're going to proclaim him king, and you just protect him, and then we're going to get rid of her. And that's basically what happens here. So just look down at beginning verse 10. And the priest gave the captains the spears and the shields that had been King David's, which were in the house of the Lord. And the guards stood, every man with his weapon in his hand, from the south side of the house to the north side of the house, around the altar and the house on behalf of the king. Then he brought out the king's son and put the crown on him and gave him the testimony. And they proclaimed him king and anointed him. And they clapped their hands and said, "Long live the king." Excuse me. And when Athaliah heard the noise of the guard of the people, she went into the house of the Lord to the people. And when she looked, there was the king standing by the pillar, according to the custom. Probably had the crown coming down over his ears, and you can just almost take a picture of that. It's really neat. And so he's standing there according to the custom, and the captains and the trumpeters beside the king and all the people of the land rejoicing and blowing trumpets. And Athaliah tore her clothes and cried, "Treason, treason." Do you think it's going to do her any good to cry out treason, treason? Everybody's so happy that you're going to be dead. You are a pitiful, pitiful woman. Verse 15, then Jehoiada the priest commanded the captains who were set over the army, "Bring her out between the ranks, put to death with the sword anyone who follows her." For the priest said, "Let her not be put to death in the house of the Lord." So they laid hands on her and went across through the horses' entrance to the king's house, and there she was put to death. And so there's the end of Athaliah. Now you'll notice what Jehoiada does here, which is very important. Verse 17, and Jehoiada made a covenant between the Lord and the king and people, that they should be the Lord's people, also between the king and the temple. Been a while since they've been the Lord's people, since Jehoshaphat. And so now they're going to be the Lord's people, and he says, let's enter into this covenant and make sure that that happens. So the people of the land seem to respond pretty well. Verse 18, then all the people of the land went to the house of Baal, tore it down, his altars and his images, they broke in pieces. They killed Matan, or Matan or whatever, the priest of Baal, before the altars, and the priest posted watchmen over the house of the Lord. So stop and draw a conclusion from that. You have, a number of horrible kings here. You've got Jehoram, he's bad. You've had Ahaziah, he's bad. And you had an Ahaziah prior to that, he's bad. So you have all this after Jehoshaphat, and then a good king comes in. Jehoiada leads it, of course, and gets things going, and everybody happily follows. You ever thought that was odd? Can you draw a conclusion from that?
People will go where they're led.
Pardon?
People will go where they're led.
They'll go where they're led. Okay, good. Mark?
People hate an evil ruler. They want something different.
Yeah.
I mean, other stories we'll see later, it's the same. I mean, after
Happens so many times.
Ahaz, they're like, yeah, we'll go back.
Yeah.
Just like the judges, they did it over and over again. God would deliver them, they would fight for a little while, and they would stop. So it was so bad, they were happy that
Yeah.
it was blessed by God.
And then when a bad king comes in, they seem to all happily go that way too. This is going to happen at the end of after Jehoiada dies here, and Joash is going to just turn away from the Lord. So it's very, very interesting to me to look at that. And in my lifetime, I've seen that even reflected in our presidents and things. It's just interesting how easily, as Adam said, if you lead in this direction, most of us will probably go. And if what do we have? What choice do we have anyway? Some people be very happy about it, and then when we go back the other way, it seems like there's always forgetfulness. It doesn't take long for everybody to forget, and nobody likes who's leading. I was thinking about that this morning as I was thinking about people already talking about midterm elections, and how things in midterm elections usually change in the other direction. And I was thinking, boy, it doesn't take long for people to forget about how bad it was or whatever. It's just odd to me. Yeah.
Know a whole lot more about Jehovah, who is the priest at that time. But is it kind of an indication that there's still some people that are trying to understand? And it's like, don't think that God's people are ever going to completely vanish. There's going to be a few that are saying, I'm for the Lord.
Yeah. It's always a remnant, isn't there? There's always a remnant, always a few people.
If I can agree disappointed, we talked a little bit afterwards last week about how short of a time span this really has been since like the moral glory days, if you will, of like truly following God. And this has been what, 150 years, maybe a little bit more. And
Barely, yeah.
Look at where this nation has gone to. It's certainly a warning of how quickly you spend one day not choosing the right thing, and how quickly time
Just and then it reverberates and dominoes and everything else. It's just of interest, and it's perplexing in a lot of ways. I don't know if there's a real good answer for it, but I think mostly is a lot what Adam said. People just going to throw their shoulders up. Okay, whatever. Let's go that way. They don't have a solid commitment to God, or that wouldn't happen. Okay, we worship God a while? Okay, we'll do that. And I want to go back the other way? Okay, we'll do that. Whatever you guys want to do, I'm with you. So interesting to see that taking place there. Look at verse 19. And he took the captains, the Carites, and the guards, and all the people of the land, and they brought the king down from the house of the Lord, marching through the gate of the guards on the king's house, and he took his seat on the throne of the kings. So all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city was quiet after Athaliah had been put to death with the sword at the king's house. Okay. Now what happens when Athaliah is dead and we have a king who's not nuts? Everybody seems to be pretty happy, right? Peace. There is finally peace. You have a wicked queen like she was, and everybody's bearing the burden of it. And so finally there is peace, and the city rejoices, and there's quiet. That is something that's very, very important to keep in mind, because it foreshadows the importance of a righteous king and a righteous kingdom. So when you see in the book of Isaiah, and look in Isaiah, and you see all these different chapters, especially chapter 11 and other places, that talk about a righteous king raising up, and a righteous nation and a righteous kingdom, etc. And then when we read in the New Testament about the gospel is the good news, because it's the good news about a good king in a good kingdom. This is the reason we today we have maybe in Ed Harrell's terms, we have turned the church into hyper church. Like it's the most important thing around, when the kingdom is what's important. We are citizens of the kingdom. Yes, we meet in local groups, and church is used as the all of the saved, dead or alive, throughout the world. But God's emphasis is on kingdom. Remember in those, I mentioned this when I was doing these lessons on the gospel. Remember the first 4 gospel accounts? Church is used one time. Kingdom is used over 105 times. What's the emphasis? God is bringing a kingdom. What did the apostles ask Jesus? Is it at this time you're going to restore the kingdom? Why is that? It's because of this. It's because you want peace, and you want quiet, and you want righteousness. And this is what we have been waiting for. And we feel it living in any country of the world. It doesn't matter at just about any given time, because wickedness reigns. So it's neat to see it at that big picture, because that's what the emphasis is. And we need to not get in our minds and hearts, it's just all about a local church here at Woodland Hills, or something like that. No, it is not. We are a small but important part of the building of God's kingdom. And all the way through the book of Acts, it's about the kingdom. You see it over and again. Comments on that? Questions on that? Anything? All right. So that, anyway, very, very, very important there. Go to 2 Kings 12. And now we have the reign of Joash, or Jehoash, again, used both ways and translated both ways. So as you can see, and at the end of at the end of chapter 11, which should be part of chapter 12, Jehoash was 7 years old when he began to reign in the 7th year of Jehu. All right, so see, backing up, Jehu reigned 28 years. So we're backing way up to the 7th year of Jehu's reign. Jehoash began to reign, and he reigned 40 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Zibiah of Beersheba, and Joash did what was right in the eyes of the Lord all his days, because Jehoiada the priest instructed him. Just a second. Just tell me about that verse 2. If you have a different version of the ESV, you'll see it a little more plainly. Yeah, a little plainer. All the years Jehoiada was priest, he does what's right. And thus, he does what's right, not because of his own conscience or his own heart. He does what's right because he's following Jehoiada, and he doesn't want to buck against him. He didn't want to have that battle. Maybe it seems Jehoiada is a pretty powerful and strong priest, and he is not going to allow things to go haywire. And Joash just goes, well, all right, that's what we'll do. And that's a very important part of this here. All right, so that summarizes his reign. Verse 3, nevertheless, the high places were not taken away. The people continued to sacrifice and make offerings in the high places. To whom?
To God.
To God. Yeah. So during a good king, the king doesn't, and most of them didn't. Only Hezekiah and Josiah took down some of the high places. But what's happening is they go, okay, as long as we can still worship on the high places, we'll worship the Lord on the high places. And so they continue to do that. If you were reading the 12th chapter of Deuteronomy, you will see before they entered the land of Canaan, God stood on his head and screamed at them, practically saying, you shall not worship me like they worship. Over and over and over again he said it. And of course, that's exactly what they're doing, worshiping God in the way that they had worshiped their idols. So a very important part of this. All right, 4 through 16 is the repairing of the house of the Lord. Somewhat interesting here. This is initiated by Joash. Verse 4, said to the priest, all the money of the holy things that is brought into the house of the Lord, the money for which each man is assessed, the money from the assessment of persons, and the money that a man's heart prompts him to bring into the house of the Lord, let the priest take each from his donor, and let them repair the house wherever any need of repairs is discovered. But by the 23rd year of King Joash, the priest had made no repairs of the house. Therefore King Joash summoned Jehoiada, the priest, and the other priests, and said to them, why are you not repairing the house? Now therefore take no more money from your donors, but hand it over to the repair of the house. So the priest agreed that they should take no more money from the people, and that they should not repair the house. Then Jehoiada the priest took a chest and bored a hole in the lid of it, and set it beside the altar on the right side as one entered the house of the Lord. And the priest who guarded the threshold put in all the money that was brought into the house of the Lord. And whenever they saw that there was much money in the chest, the king's secretary and the high priest came up, and they bagged it and counted the money that was found in the Lord's house. And then they would give the money and weighed it out in the hands of the workmen who had oversight of the house of the Lord, and they paid it out in carpenters and builders, etc., and masons and all this. So they began to rebuild the house of the Lord. Okay, so Kings here leaves some blanks. You know, you're trying to figure out what went on here? There's all this money coming in. Joash says use it to repair the temple and the house of the Lord, and they don't do it. And he comes back and goes, why haven't you done this? And they go, the book of Kings doesn't give us any reason. And so it's a little bit confusing. So I would suggest skip over to 2 Chronicles 20, just so we can fill in the blank here about what takes place. 2 Chronicles 20. And we'll begin at verse 4. 2 Chronicles 20, verse 4. Do I have the right one here? I think I wrote it down wrong. Chapter 24, verse. Yeah, I put that down wrong. Thank you very much. I'll go back here and see if what I jotted down. Okay, yeah, chapter 24 and verse 4. All right, so we have the whole story of Athaliah, etc. So verse 4, speaking of verse 4, he did what was evil in the sight of the... I'm looking at 22. Goodness, turn the page, Kerch. This page stuck together for some reason. 24:4. Hush. After this, Joash decided to restore the house of the Lord, and he gathered the priests and the Levites and said to them, go out to the cities of Judah and gather from all Israel money to repair the house of God from year to year, and see that you act quickly. But the Levites did not act quickly. And then verse 6, so the king summoned Jehoiada the chief and said to him, why have you not required the Levites to bring in from Judah and Jerusalem the tax levied by Moses, the servant of the Lord, and the congregation of Israel for the tent of testimony? For the sons of Athaliah, that wicked woman, had broken into the house of God, and had also used all the dedicated things of the house of the Lord for the Baals. So the king commanded, and they made a chest and set it outside the gate of the house of the Lord, as we just read. So the only possible answer here is what's given there in verse 7. Why didn't they do this when they were supposed to? It's because the rotten sons of Athaliah had broken into the house of God and stole a bunch of stuff and whatever. There's no more information. We're still kind of left hanging at yes, but why? But at any rate, this is what is recorded for us here, that you at least see Joash going, okay, I'm trying to do something here, and they finally do rebuild and repair the house of the Lord as Joash had said. Okay? Yeah.
Is this the beginning of the temple tax that Jesus...
No, that was already there. Yeah, that's required back under the law. That wasn't fake. Yeah, that wasn't something Israel just made up or the Jews made up. Yeah, that was what they made up is your money isn't good enough. You have to buy our money. at a higher price. That was what was made up. All right. Now look at back in 2 Kings 12. Look down at verse 17. At that time, Hazael, king of Syria, went up and fought against Gath and took it. Where's Gath? Where's the Philistine area, right? But Israel was controlling it, obviously, at this time. All right, so he took Gath. And then the rest of verse 17, and when Hazael set his face to go up against Jerusalem, Jehoash the king of Judah took all the sacred gifts that Jehoshaphat and Jehoram and Ahaziah his fathers, the kings of Judah, had dedicated, and his own sacred gifts, and all the gold that was found in the treasuries of the house of the Lord and of the king's house, and sent these to Hazael king of Syria. Then Hazael went away from Jerusalem. Okay, everybody in favor? How many times does this happen? You just imagine God up in heaven going, all you got to do is just ask me. And I'm going to punk them, man. I'm going to take them out. But you just won't stop. And that went all the way even to quote-unquote good King Hezekiah, as he will throw piles of money and send things to Egypt and everything else. They don't trust the Lord. And pretty amazing here that this is the way that he reacts during this time. No mention of Jehoiada. Don't know where Jehoiada was in all of this, but it just never mentions anything that he does in this. So again, maybe this is an important lesson. Really easy to serve the Lord until our lives are threatened. And that's what here, Joash, he's serving the Lord. He's doing what's right, etc., all the way. And then he's threatened. Oh, who's the Lord? Let me give him all the money.
We don't want to go to war. We've had peace.
Yeah, we've had peace. It's the easy way out. You have a beautiful story about this when you go to Isaiah chapter 8 and 9, 7, 8, and 9, where there's a threat there, and God is trying to his best to get Ahaz to relax. You don't have to worry. I'm going to take care of this. And Ahaz just won't do it. He just won't do it, even though God is directly telling him it's okay. But he won't listen. So you see that picture. Kind of like rocky ground, in the parable of the sower, everybody's really excited to obey the gospel until things get tough, and then they're done. All right, so you see the death of Joash, verse 19. Now the rest of the acts of Joash and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? His servants rose and made a conspiracy and struck down Joash in the house of Millo on the way that goes down to Silla. It was Jozachar, the son of Shemith, and Jehozabad, the son of Shomer, his servants, who struck him down so that he died, and they buried him with his fathers in the city of David, and Amaziah's son reigned in his place. Now again, Kings leaves out some really important information here as to why they would assassinate him after reigning for 40 years and after he had been such a good king. So we need to consider a few things here before I get to this. Do I have this down here? Yeah. Look at 2 Chronicles 24. So back to 2 Chronicles. I normally wouldn't do this because there's a point in Kings not bringing it up and a point of Chronicles bringing it up. But for our sake of at least understanding the story here, it leaves us hanging if we don't know what's happening. So 2 Chronicles 24, and look at verse 17. So verse 17, after the death of Jehoiada, the princes of Judah came and paid homage to the king. Then the king listened to them. Now tell me how good the princes of the king of Judah are. They're junk. They are no good. So he listens to them. Verse 18, and they abandoned the house of the Lord, the God of their fathers, and served the Asherim and the idols, and wrath came upon Judah and Jerusalem for this guilt of theirs. Yet he sent prophets among them to bring them back to the Lord. These testified against them, but they would not pay attention. Then the Spirit of God clothed Zechariah, the son of Jehoiada, the priest, and he stood above the people, and he said to them, Thus says God, why do you break the commandments of the Lord so that you cannot prosper? Because you have forsaken the Lord, he has forsaken you. And they conspired against him, and by command of the king, they stoned him with stones in the court of the house of the Lord. Thus Joash the king did not remember the kindness that Jehoiada, Zechariah's father, had shown to him, but killed his son. And when he was dying, he said, May the Lord see and avenge. Now what do you think of Jehoiada? I mean Jehoiada, think of Joash. What? Just shocking, shocking. Now, anybody remember Jesus mentioning Zechariah, the prophet? Yeah. So God said to Israel, Jesus said to Israel in the is that 23rd chapter? When he gave the woe to you, scribes, Pharisees, and hypocrites, he said, what's going to come upon you is all the blood that was shed from Abel to Zechariah, from A to Z. And Zechariah is this Zechariah here that they murdered because he went up against Joash and said, this shouldn't be, you shouldn't be doing this. So all of this, Jesus said that blood is going to be stored up, and the whole nation is going to suffer for what's been going on all this time. Why would that be? Because you keep following your forefathers and you get worse and worse, and then ultimately they murder Jesus. And as Stephen said in his sermon in Acts 7, don't sit there and act like that you're so good. And Jesus said pretty much the same thing, that you're so good and you wouldn't have been like the prophets of old. Yeah, well, yes, you would have, and you are, and you're worse. And they kill him. That's right. It's incredible. Incredible. So anyway, terrific thing. When you consider the faith of Joash, you have to ask the question, why did he really serve the Lord? Just because of the influence of Jehoiada. And we need to be careful of that. Why do we serve the Lord? We serve the Lord just because our parents will get upset with us, or the people at the church won't look at us highly, or whatever. That's a bad reason. Serve the Lord because you love the Lord, and make that what it ought to be. All right. Boy, right on the dot. That's pretty good. Thank you for your participation.